Welcome back, folks. Part 2 of William Taft here. My name is Chloe. If you're new, please hit the subscribe button below. Share, like, comment, do all that stuff. I'm just going to jump right into this because there's a lot on this list. So, in my last video, I talked about William Howard Taft from 1909 to 1910. And so now I'm starting with 1911 and going through the end of his presidency. So let's just jump right into this, shall we? January 21st, 1911, the National Progressive Republican League, Wisconsin Senator Robert La Follette established it in D.C. Silvermist, stop laughing. February 7th, 1911, Saving the Seals. U.S. and Britain sign a treaty to guarantee preserving and protecting pelagic fur seals in the Bering Sea, which is a good thing. I always thought that happened more recently, but apparently not. March 2nd, 1911, investigating postal rates. Taft appoints a commission for the newspaper and magazines. Congress convinced the rate increase was justified. March 7th, 1911, mobilizing along the Mexican border. 20,000 soldiers were mobilized after the American ambassador to Mexico, Henry Lane Wilson, reports safety of Americans in Mexico may be in danger. On the same day, Taft appoints Secretary of Interior Walter Fisher, who was an ally of Gifford Pinchot, which I know you remember that name if you've been watching my series, and he replaces Richard Ballinger, who resigned. March 16, 1911, Taft appoints Secretary of War. Henry Stimson, not Stinson, replaces Jacob Dickinson. And you remember in my last video I did talk about Henry Stimson. Excuse me, I'm not feeling all that well. Not COVID, though. March 25, 1911, Triangle Shirtwaist Factory fire. It was located in Manhattan, New York. 146 women died trying to escape, including trying to jump out the windows because they didn't have adequate areas to evacuate from. Doesn't say how the fire started. New York legislature establishes making better working environments and fire safety for sweatshops. May 15th, 1911, the dissolution of Standard Oil. Chief Justice Edward White agrees Standard Oil's business practices violated the Sherman Act, Antitrust Act. It allowed the company 6 months to spin off subsidiaries rather than the standard 3 months. May 16, 1911, President Porfirio Diaz of Mexico resigns. May 29, 1911, American Tobacco Company was dissolved. The Supreme Court finds that they also violated the Sherman Antitrust Act, which there was a lot of that going on back in 1911. The same day, there was a treaty with Nicaragua. It would have made the nation U.S. protectorate, and the Senate later rejects the treaty. June 17, 1911, Robert La Follette announces the run. Silvermist, stop laughing, I can hear you. Progressive senator from Wisconsin states he'll run for president as a Republican. So I was wrong yesterday when I thought it was Federalists were still in as a party, but it's the Progressives. So Republicans, Democrats, and Progressives. July 26, 1911, Canadian Tariff Reciprocity Agreement. Taft signs it. Remember that. August 3rd, 1911, arbitration with France and England. Taft signs the General Arbitration Treaties. Roosevelt and Senator Henry Cabot Lodge, who were friends and allies, led a campaign to oppose it. August 17, 1911, Taft vetoes the tariff reductions on wool and woolen goods. The Tariff Board never completed their investigation, according to Taft. September 21st, 1911, Canadian reciprocity was defeated. October 1st, 1911, Taft tours Western U.S. He tries to get support for arbitration treaties with France and England. In March of 1912, France and England reject the treaties which were approved by the Senate at that time. October 26, 1911, Taft files a lawsuit against U.S. Steel. He says it violates the Sherman Antitrust Act. Like I said, there was a lot of that going on back then. Taft alleges that Teddy allowed U.S. Steel to buy Tennessee Coal and Iron Company in 1907. November 6, 1911, Madero becomes the Mexican president. Wealthy landowner Francisco Malero assumes the office of presidency in Mexico. November 10th, 1911, Carnegie Corporation, which I think has something to do with Carnegie Hall. Andrew Carnegie founds the corporation with an initial endowment of $125 million. Wish I had that money, don't you? January 6, 1912, New Mexico becomes a state. So now we're gaining more states to the Union, and we are now up to 47 states. January 17, 1912, Taft calls for a federal budget. January 22, 1912, American interests in the Chinese Revolution. U.S. troops occupy Tianjin, that's what it is. Again, I'm writing this kind of fast. China. U.S. troops occupy Tianjin, China, to protect interests. I don't speak Chinese, so don't butcher me or crucify me. February 14th, 1912, Arizona becomes the 48th state. You won't hear about another state for several years now. So February 20th, 1912, Taft nominates Malone Pitney to seat as the U.S. Supreme Court, or in the U.S. Supreme Court. It was confirmed by the Senate, and he takes oath on March 13th. February 22nd, 1912, Teddy Roosevelt throws in. Teddy announces his run for president. Taft and running mate James S. Sherman were renominated. It was the first time it was endorsed by the Republicans to nominate a sitting president and vice president on the same ticket. March 14th, 1912, the halting major railroad merger. Justice Department halts Southern Pacific and Union Pacific from merging. March 15th, 1912, Dr. Harvey Wiley resigns. He was a head chemist at the Department of Agriculture, and he resigned due to differences with the Secretary of the Agriculture, James Wilson. March 27th, 1912, Washington's first cherry trees. Mrs. Taft plants the first trees given to the U.S. by Japan. It was a symbol of international friendship, along with the tidal basin of Potomac Park. Now, for those of you that are not familiar with this, every spring a lot of people go to Washington, D.C. to see the blossoming cherry trees, and that's what this is talking about here. April 9th, 1912, creation of the Children's Bureau. Taft signs the bill, and it is located in the Department of Commerce. The agency is in charge of monitoring child welfare. Now I'm going to bring out a visual effect, or a visual aid, I should say. Visual effect, yeah. I am not that techno-savvy. Okay, April 14th, 1912, Titanic sinks. Off the coast of Newfoundland, please don't laugh at this, because I did. Taft's key aide, Archie Butt, and yes, it is spelled that way, died on the ship. So, as I promised, here is a copy, even though it looks like the actual paper. This is a copy of the Boston Daily Globe, dated Tuesday morning, April 16th, 1912. The price of the paper was 2 cents. So here it talks about the Titanic sinking, and then here's the bottom part of the paper. Goes into all these different articles about how many people died, what happened. We all know the story, especially if you watch the movie Titanic. So there is your visual aid here. I bought this from a flea market, from a guy in a flea market. That is, as I said, this is a copy of it. Otherwise, I'm sure it would probably be a lot worse off, but I got to be very careful with these papers. So this is the first visual aid I have. The next one won't be until World War II. Okay, so hope you enjoyed that. April 15th, 1912, Julia Lathrop heads the Children's Bureau. She is the highest ranking woman in U.S. government. So for those of you that are feminists, you will enjoy that, especially Emma Watson. June 5th, 1912, Marines land in Cuba to ensure order under the Platt Agreement. June 18th, 1912, Taft wins the Republican nomination. June 19th, 1912, Congress passes an 8-hour workday for all workers with federal contracts. July 2nd, 1912, Democrats nominate Woodrow Wilson from New Jersey. Thomas Marshall of Indiana is his vice president nominee. August 5th, 1912, the Progressives nominate Teddy Roosevelt. The Progressive Party was also known as the Bull Moose Party. Hiram Johnson of California was his vice president. Or Hiram, I don't know how you pronounce that name. August 20th, 1912, battleships sent to Nicaragua to protect U.S. economic interests and rail lines. August 24th, 1912, Panama Canal Act. Taft signs it, exempting the U.S. coastways shipping from paying tolls going through the Panama Canal. Most Americans and Britons say it's a violation of the Hay-Pauncefote Treaty of 1901. September 24th, 1912, the Marines are sent to Santo Domingo to restore order. That's all it said about it, so I don't know what was going on there. October 30th, 1912, Vice President John Sherman dies. I did have to do a little digging on this. Nicholas Butler replaces him on the ticket, because remember, he was going to be the running VP for Taft. John Sherman was diagnosed with Bright's disease in 1904, and he died at home in Utica, New York. His health had been declining for those years. November 5th, 1912, Wilson defeats Taft and Roosevelt. The electoral votes were 435 to 88 for Teddy Roosevelt and 8 for Taft. The popular votes, Wilson defeats Teddy he had 2 million votes over Teddy Roosevelt and 3 million votes over Taft. So obviously he was a very popular guy. February 14th, 1913, Taft vetoes the literacy tests for immigrants. February 18th, 1913, okay. I don't speak much Spanish either, so please don't butcher me on this one. Huerta overthrows Madero. General Victoriano Huerta, Huerta, overthrows President Madero. On the same day, Taft refuses to get involved with that whole thing, even though Americans wanted him to. February 25th, 1913, the 16th Amendment was ratified. Now, if you remember, Congress originally passed it on July 2nd, 1909. The Supreme Court had struck it down twice, once in 1862 and once in 1894. The amendment called for low gradual rates of 1 to 6%. So again, thank Taft for taking a slice out of your paycheck. March 1st, 1913, Webb-Kenyon Interstate Liquor Act. Congress passes it after Taft vetoes it. Okay, it prohibits the shipment of liquor to dry states. So apparently some states didn't allow liquor to be consumed in their states, so they couldn't get liquor shipped to their states. March 4th, 1913, the splitting of the Department of Labor and Commerce. Congress divides it into 2 separate cabinets, and Wilson is inaugurated. So Taft leaves Washington, D.C. for a vacation in Augusta, Georgia. So, tomorrow, or whenever, the next video, whenever I decide to do it, I've been having a headache the last few days, and the gastritis has been kind of bothering me lately, too. So, that's why I'm not feeling well. We will be talking about Woodrow Wilson and his time in office. I didn't write down his information. But to leave you, I'm going to show you again the newspaper from the Titanic when it sank. It says 1,500 die. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. Hope you are enjoying all of these videos. If you haven't watched my earlier ones, please do. Please share them on your social media pages so that I can get more people watching them. And please continue to watch my videos. I was thinking of hanging it up because I only have like one person that basically has been watching every day and commenting every day. Although now I've got two. Thank you, John, for your comment from yesterday's video, which was not the Taft one, because I just uploaded the part 1 of William Taft. So I'm doing part 2 now. So, and today's Wednesday. So please come back for the next video for Woodrow Wilson. Thank you for joining me on this journey. It's been very educational for me, and hopefully it's been educational for you as well. So have a happy and safe and healthy and sunny day. Class dismissed. See you on the next one.